The UK's biggest gaming awards take place in London tonight. The BAFTA event includes a glimpse of the new James Bond video game and follows a difficult few years for the industry. Bond is immature and reckless.
Apart from seeing awards handed out, the BAFTAs are providing a sneak peek of the next James Bond.
Do you mind telling me why I'm here?
The next video game's James Bond, that is, with a theme sung and co-written by Lana Del Rey and David Arnold, the composer of 5 Bond movie scores. How important is it, do you think, that BAFTA recognises video games as an art form?
Music is music, and script writing is script-writing, and storytelling is storytelling. I mean, the medium is different, but when you're talking about the artistic effort and success of it, then I see no reason why you shouldn't recognise it.
And now I have a small surprise for you. A Bond song is a cultural moment. 62 years after everyone's favourite secret agent hit the world cinema screens, the song still invites endless speculation and excitement. So when IOI and Eon asked me to write the theme song for 007 First Light, my first thought was an immediate yes. And my second was, who could my collaborator be? Who could bring elegance, mystique, style, and considerable writing expertise to deliver a song that invites you into the world of First Light, but also worthy of its place in the canon of Bond songs? Well, for me, there could only really be one person. And so it is my absolute pleasure to present, in a world exclusive, the title sequence and official theme song for 007 First Light, performed by Lana Del Rey.
We're back again at the double, really 007 at the double, for reaction to the, I can't believe I'm saying this, a title sequence to 007 First Light, or is it just First Light now? I'm not sure.
Well, a lot of the documentaries that they're sort of releasing, all the people involved keep referring to it as 007 First Light.
Are you all right with that, Harry? Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, for now, yeah. I think so, yeah. Because, they need to associate it with Bond.
Your complaint, wasn't it, that the last few films we've had too much 007 on the marketing?
Yeah. I think it's fine. It's branding, it's got to be striking as a James Bond game, so I think it's absolutely right.
And it was 007 Legends, wasn't it? And 007 Nightfire, I think.
That's true, yeah.
So, there we go. So it's fine. Anyway, yes. So, incredibly, within the space of 24 hours or so, something like that, we had not only the song released by Lana Del Rey and David Arnold, then it was actually at the BAFTAs, that the video game BAFTAs, that David Arnold introduced the new title sequence. And of course, it was also introduced on YouTube on the official channel for the game. I'm going to turn to Chris. This is possibly one of the most nervous moments I've ever had since we started the podcast, because Harry and I do not know what Chris thinks of the song yet. So go on.
He's been very quiet in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah. No, my first impressions are very, very positive. I think it hits all the everything that you want. There's always that slight kind of I think for me it's a slight kind of tinge of disappointment. There's nothing a little bit more upbeat or a little bit quicker. There's always that. This really feel that they've kind of that over the past couple of decades, there's a certain sound that they want for that really makes it a Bond film. But no, I really liked it. Like I say, it just has all of the feel of you kind of expect, and I think it definitely benefits from Daniel Craig, the Slater, David Arnold's production, because again it makes it sort of, because obviously it's almost like that seal of approval, isn't it? It makes it official, having someone who's obviously worked on some fantastic scores and very varied scores over the past few decades. So no, I was pleasantly surprised. Not like as in I thought it was great, but I was just a bit like, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty much what I was sort of expecting. So like I say, there's a little bit of, oh well, maybe we could have done something a bit more exciting, given that it is a video game, and obviously you want something to drive it and to make it a bit more. But no, overall, I was really positive feelings about it. And I think she's a great choice. She sort of fits the. I suppose if you're going to go and look at those pool of of artists, she definitely sits in there as having the right look and the sound and feel and everything. So no, I think it's given it a really good, really makes it feel so legitimate as a Bond product or video game or content or however you want to describe it. And that's what for me makes it feel really excited about this game, is that it feels legitimate and it feels like there's a lot of thought and love that's gone behind it. And to have a song so well produced by a composer is a brilliant start to it.
Harry mentioned, I think, in our previous discussion, and actually I looked at an interview with Lana Del Rey herself, that I think it was when she was told, or the media had found out she hadn't got that Spectre song submitted, or it didn't, pass the test. And she mentioned, oh yeah, I'm here, I'm doing all my Nancy Sinatra thing.
You and a James Bond theme, discuss.
I mean, how has that not happened yet? Can we just say, it's only 24 hours in a day? I wrote that for them. But Sam, you did a wonderful job, really. No, I'm just kidding. No, really, but one day, maybe. Probably not. But I'm going to continue to sing, do my little Nancy Sinatra thing every now and then and just pretend that it's the title track.
Which, so there is, I don't know, she must be aware of the Bond law, I suppose.
I think she's been up for it.
Chris, so presumably like us, you did know that the first time you heard it, you knew David Arnold was involved.
Yeah. So obviously, when it was shared, it was like, oh right, okay. So I was at the time I was traveling, so I couldn't actually watch it straight away. So I saw obviously first reactions in our kind of WhatsApp group, and obviously it came across as very sort of positive and very very exciting. So I kind of held off, knowing that then I hadn't had a chance to look at it. Then I held off actually listening to it, because I knew that this title sequence was going to be shared. So I thought, oh, well, it'd be quite nice to watch it in the context of just seeing the visuals and stuff, rather than listening to it and then watching it.
It starts with basically like a volcano exploding. Now, I think the consensus probably is that that's to do with this Iceland mission, which is referenced in the trailers. It's sort of like a thing where Bond either has a tragedy or he's cocks up or something like that leads him to where we are.
I couldn't remember going back exactly, but I remember there being some reference to Iceland, these things. So definitely when I saw that, I thought that must be a deliberate reference to the story.
Yeah.
And that makes you wonder whether everything you're seeing is a reference to the story.
Yeah, they have started to do that more and more, haven't they, in the Kleinman era? Certainly.
Yeah. I get the feeling that trying to think of it, obviously in the context of it being a video game, that you'll have that opening pre-title, adventure, that level as such, that you're getting it, and then like I say, something's gonna then something triggers the title sequence. So, which again makes it feel really exciting, because it's like, oh, what happens before?
Yeah, because it doesn't reveal that, does it?
No,
and it doesn't reveal how it ends either. It cuts it off a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not sure whether we'll get a gun barrel, and that isn't me being controversial, but if it is Bond earning his stripes, I just can't picture in the marketing sort of stuff they've had. He's always in that gorgeous, like, For Your Eyes Only pose, the jacket.
Yeah.
It'd be odd if he was then in like a dinner jacket before that, walking. But I don't know.
It would be a really pleasant surprise. But I think going from all the documentary and interviews, it's all about him becoming James Bond, and they're even sort of repeating those ideas of, because I watched the one about the music, that they revealed, and they've sort of talked about how the theme grows in the film as he becomes more and more of James Bond and 007. So I think like you say, how the gun barrel fits into that plan, I'm not sure, but presumably this main title sequence will follow a pre-title sequence.
Yeah, oh, definitely. With the composers, we might hear more from them later, but that's clearly following Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Yeah. And Casino Royale, sorry. And Casino Royale.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have resisted this criticism. Oh, we don't need young Bond. We've done that before. Oh, we've seen him earn his stripes in Casino Royale. No, we haven't. We just had a flashback. That's all we had of him earning his stripes.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
Yeah, I think, like you say, I think that was always the strange thing about Casino Royale, is that it felt that it should have been like the way it was sort of pitched before it was actually, released, was that it was like a genuine kind of like origin story, that it was stuff that it wasn't Fleming, that was only referenced very briefly in terms of that's his backstory, that's the history, that's where he's come from. So I think and I think this is what we're, using different media, in particular video game, is to really expand that. Allows you to really open up the world, but actually the films are still just the films, and you don't have to go into that rocky, area of like, oh, let's introduce this, let's go in this direction, and suddenly people like have problems with it. I think this is a great way of exploring new avenues with the character, or stories and stuff, without having to sort of reinvent the wheel when it comes to the actual films.
In the Charlie Higson books, can you remember how it ends though? He's not this old, is he? It's still before this.
I've not got there yet.
No, I don't think it does. It doesn't go up to.
No,
because he's still quite young, isn't he? When by the time the books finishes, so no, there's no kind of like him signing his name on like joining the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
The suggestion is that this starts in the Navy, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, I think yeah.
And that's the advantage of video games. Obviously, you've got Patrick Gibson, an actor, actually playing him, but you can age. You can sort his age on screen. You can take him back a few years. Hopefully, the plan is that we'll be getting a series of games that just carry on and carry on. Now that we've got Patrick Gibson's image, they can probably make him Bond for decades, can't they?
In that obviously, this is getting a lot of comparisons to like the Uncharted series in terms of the way it looks and stuff. And that had flashbacks for that character when he was like a child, and so it was playable as that. So there's no reason as you go along you couldn't have a flashback to an actual mission in the Navy and that you actually interact with, and that's another level. So that, like I say, you just able with video games, you're able to just really kind of just do a lot more creatively and, like I say, mix things up. But you're not alienating your core audience, because if you're watching a Bond film and suddenly like halfway through you had a flashback to him in the Navy, you'd be like, well, we've never done this before. Why? What's happening?
And I don't think it matters as much in a game. If you were told the new film, it's all about just him in the Navy or whatever. Yeah, but we've seen some of the gameplay. I mean, it's the most spectacular, action-packed Bond in inverted commas stuff ever. It doesn't matter the fact that if he hasn't quite earned the number yet, because everything you're doing as Bond is being the James Bond we know and love. I know this is a bit hyperbole and a bit Rob of me, but I am probably more excited now than at any time since the mid Brosnan era, I would say. That's how good it is for this game, because it's just going to be. I'm probably the only one who doesn't have the console, so I'll have to be your houses, but I don't. I just don't. It's like when you get the new Grand Theft Auto. It's too big to compute how many hours and how much there is to discover. And particularly with the storyline, it's unbelievable. You
mentioned being action packed as well. I was pleased to see in the pre-title sequence explosions. I know that sounds silly, and we've seen from trailers that it is going to be action packed. There's even going to be jaw dropping stunts and things, but it's the pre-title sequence shows explosions, and for me that's great. That's what you want from action adventure. You want explosions, but you also see him sneaking around doing espionage. It's like the character is shown quite a lot in a really good way. I was quite interested the first time I saw it. I thought, even though we've got Patrick Gibson as an actor, all the animation and the movements of Bond in this pre-title sequence do look like a game still, if you know what I mean. Like the movements still look like a video game character, which I think is a really I think that's really good and true to the concept, if you know what I mean. Rather than it being cut away to live action shots of Patrick Gibson,
Lord of the Rings,
it is the computerized version of James Bond because in this conversation, it's difficult to know what are we talking about here. Are we talking about a title sequence like we're talking about all the other James Bond title sequences, or is this different? Do we compare it to the others, or do we treat it differently? I don't know, because this is as good as better than recent ones for me in terms of. Because I think it's just it's kind of linear and coherent. I really struggled with the No Time to Die title sequence because I thought it felt like it was about 5 ideas going on.
Yeah.
In terms of themes, in terms of color schemes, in terms of all sorts. Whereas this seems really coherent, not at all overloaded. and it lets a lot of the images actually stay on the screen for a while, in terms of like chandeliers. That volcano at the start, it's quite slow. And if you go back to the old ones, you know, you do get to look at the images for a long time. And I think it has that. It's not flashing lots and lots before you.
Yeah.
And I really like the pace that it goes at. It even has, you know, the traditional trope of silhouettes of women dancing, but done in a, you know, what I would say is a fairly inoffensive way. It's like it's done well, and they've not got overexcited, and because it's a computer game, done ridiculous things. It's still pretty stripped back and good to look at.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it feels like there's a lot of thought that's gone into it, and that it's sort of, again, like trying to include stuff that you would expect from a Bond pre-title sequence, but then with slightly different things, like that, like you mentioned about the dancing women, but they've got like glowing eyes, which adds like a slightly sinister vibe to it. And also including some great images, like there's giant chess pieces and things. And again, that feels like, why have we never done? Have we done that before? Why haven't we done that before? You know, because chess seems like such an obvious thing. You know, from Russia with Love all the way through in terms of, you know, the you know, as a metaphor for, you know, the Cold War and things like that. So it's like that I really liked. I think it felt like very much. Again, not necessarily in a negative way, but it did feel like very much in the Daniel Craig world of pre-title sequences. It felt like he was very much influenced by that, and you know. But I agree, like having the character, you know, it looks like the character that you play. It's not like the real actor. I think really helps. Sometimes that just when you see, you know, humans in video games, it's just like it always looks a bit weird. And like I say, those little nods, like I think one of the first bit, there's a transition where you see him sort of the silhouette or the shadow. He has that, like I say, that classic Bond pose, almost Roger, which is really nice. And I think, it's just what's really exciting is, like I say, is that it feels like there's a lot of thought that's gone into it. It feels like there's a lot of money. And I think that's so, like you were saying before, Tom, it's like we're getting really excited about this whole kind of this new part of the journey, which is that it feels like people are absolutely behind this, are invested in it, and also expect people to be excited by this as well, to go to such events and lent to sort of promote it and use this sort of platform. For me, is really exciting because it means that it's not kind of just, oh, we'll just release it when there's a new film that's coming out. They're very much making it their own, and it makes you feel really excited about what else they're going to do with the film, and like say, there's new books coming out all the time. And I find that reassuring because there is that period of like, oh well, this is, you know, the end of an era with Eon and the Broccoli's and stuff like that. What's going to happen? But it feels like everyone is actually we're going to carry on. We're going to make it our own, but we're going to, you know, it will still be all Bond and it will be all kind of high quality. And I find that really exciting and reassuring that not only are they investing in it, they feel that we're investing in it because there's people who will buy the game, read the books, go and watch the film, and that's really reassuring.
That ties me into one of the first images is Amazon MGM.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Studios and IO Interactive presents, and I know there's a few comments like, oh, it's the first time Cubby Broccoli, or you know, and Eon Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, or Eon Productions presents. But that actually is a clean slate, isn't it? Because they were involved.
Yeah, I think it's lovely.
They signed this off, you know, Eon, didn't they? 5-6 years ago now. But it's like Chris says, it's a fresh start rather than, you know, oh, we'll just put that there to keep certain people happy. No, we're in charge. We are in charge.
And it helps, you know, I'm going to get back on that box that I was on for Quantum of Solace, but it helps that it's in the official titles font.
Yes, here we go.
So there's continuation. There's, you know, yes, the you know, different names are being put up, but it's the same font, it's the same package, it's the same branding. And that's so important if you're wanting it to look like it belongs to the world of James Bond and the world of James Bond on film. They've nailed it just by doing the fonts. You know, for me, and I've talked about it so much, but all sorts could have happened in this title sequence. But if it's got that font, for me, it's significant because it feels real. It feels like it belongs. So even though we're missing very familiar names, it's great to see that font. And then when you do see, you know, Patrick Gibson as Ian Fleming's 007, like that's amazing. That's an amazing thing to see. And great for Patrick Gibson himself. You know, what a credit to get.
Yeah. Second Irish Bond, people, you know, only James Bond Club Island seem interested in it. No, we haven't really sort of gone into his background, have we, or anything? But I think that will come. How good if there's like I don't know whether there's going to be a red carpet event and he'll be there and some of the actors maybe. Who knows?
Wow.
But they did do this thing at the BAFTAs, like I say, with David Arnold. Yeah, so the first images, I think, because there's like the Northern Lights, aren't there? And then the explosion. So that's clearly Iceland. Then it's the first light, which is again a little foreshadowing of the gun barrel, I think. But he's got a flare, hasn't he, when the titles come up.
Yeah.
It's really well done, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, it is. That interview that David Arnold gave at these gaming BAFTAs, he talked about when him and Lana Del Rey were composing the song, they looked at some references in some of the Fleming books to Bond being like drawn to the shadow and the light and stuff like that.
How was it working with Lana Del Rey?
Very easy, thankfully. She was an incredibly easy collaborator who was committed to the idea, very involved totally involved in the creative process about what this song should be about. Because I always feel with a Bond song, there are certain things that happen, right? But the idea of what happens isn't the same as what it's about. So we had to try and find out, what is this game actually about? The story of Bond in this game, what is it about rather than what happens to it? So there's a great Ian Fleming quote from one of his short stories, which was, for every light there's always a shadow.
Yeah.
And that sort of was the in for me. The fact that someone feels compelled to run towards danger despite there being shadows all around it. So that's kind of at the start of it. That was the end. It's like, I think that's really what it's about. It's kind of like an almost parental warning to James Bond. I know you're going to do this thing. I know it's going to be dangerous. I need to tell you it is, because we don't know what might happen.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it anyway.
So you've got that theme. It's called First Light. And going back to what I said, there is this consistent theme throughout the titles of light and shadow. It's mainly in darkness, apart from when light is kind of opened up. So whether doorways open or whether there's fireworks or explosions or flares, it's basically all dark, but things light up. And I think that, you know, there's consistency there. There's a consistent message with the lyrics of the song and the titles and the title of this game. There's definitely, you know, so much thought has gone into the concept and branding it consistently, and that matters a lot.
It's like Bond entering a new world, isn't it, almost? Where he's discovering these things for the first time.
Yeah.
I presume that's the theme. And obviously the lyrics, Chris, like a moth to a flame and all that?
Yeah, well, obviously, like I said, I only listened to it once, so I'm not really, into the lyrics just yet. But yeah, like I say, just that initial feeling, it just feels like actually this is a really big tick. Someone really understands what it is to enter in the world of Bond, not only cinematically, but like I say, through the references to other stuff as well. So it's really exciting.
The other thing that excites me, of course, is like, what will the next game look like? As in, there'll be another, hopefully, another pre-titles sequence, and then these titles and a new singer, a new song. And then you look back on like we do with the films, you look back on the first light titles and song, compare it to the next one and the next one, and notice the differences and the way it evolves. And I love it. It's so exciting.
We're going way ahead of ourselves now, but to sort of go into that, presumably this will obviously take up quite a few months, not just of our time, but in terms of people playing it, the marketing still after it's released, all up till Christmas, really, probably. By which time, then we'll have moved on to the actual film, won't we?
Yeah.
And then when that's finished, then hopefully this next game will be ready. I don't know how long. I know it takes them years and years to make games, but I presume the engine and all that, that's already done, so it might not take as long to do the second one. I don't know, unless they change it drastically after feedback. Who knows? But this one's been delayed a bit. But again, we don't care, because that just meant 2 more months of excitement of us getting ready.
Yeah. And also, I know I've just talked about there being subsequent sequels and stuff. If that never happens or whatever, we're still getting this mission, we're still getting this game, and it'll always be there. You know what I mean? It's It's now having got a song and a title sequence. It is now part of Bond history. It's part of the canon almost, and it always will be. It's secured its place.
Chris, you've got the Indiana Jones Dial, no, I said Dial of Destiny. I can't remember what it's called, but I mean that must be unbelievably exciting to play, and it's that sort of feeling, I think.
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's a similar, kind of game, and that idea of that when you kids and were sort of, I suppose old enough now that when that video games when films came out were all like 8, 16 bit, so it was just like it was exciting to play it, and it was a tie-in, but we're now at the levels where it's like it's so impressive visually, and the games are huge. Where they use full orchestras for the soundtrack, and it just feels like that they say that you're able to put time and money into a pre-title sequence for a video game, which just seems, it's just a massive production, which goes to show that, like it is unsurprising that more games aren't delayed. And obviously you hear about things like Grand Theft Auto being delayed for like years and months and stuff. So the amount of work that has to go into it, it's like, oh, well, give them a break type thing. But yeah, I think things like that, it makes it feel like, genuine, expansion of that world. And that's what makes it really exciting. And I think also the fact that now we've got all this technologies that there's no reason why you can't kind of, like I say, just be a bit more creative, like that they have been with the Indiana Jones game, where basically the loading level is the opening sequence to Raiders, and you get to play that sequence, and then the actual game itself starts, and it's like, this is brilliant. This is, talk about fan service. This is what you want, but it's like a pre-game little level, and I think that's, don't have to necessarily do that, but it just goes to show that you can. There's no reason in future games where you couldn't have, this character doing another mission from a pre-existing either game or a pre-existing novel or film.
Or you could just stumble across Alec Trevelyan as 006.
So I mean, there's really no, and I think that's what makes it exciting. That's why I'm always up for the novels. The fact that you can really mess about with it and do really exciting different things. But actually, at the end of the day, it's the films themselves that I think you need to be a bit more careful with.
Yeah.
So you're saying you could have like a level going back to Tomorrow Never Dies era, and you can have Pierce Brosnan with an older voice. A multiverse.
Or you can jump forward. You can jump forward to old Bond.
You can have old Bond.
Sean Connery in From Russia with Love.
Well, yeah. But there's like they say, there's all this talk about Pierce Brosnan. Oh, they bring him back for one. Well, bring him back for a video game.
Yes.
He absolutely looks the part. Obviously, in this, Patrick Gibson you're playing him as he looks in real life, with a few exceptions like the scar and stuff. But it's not a case of like with Indiana Jones. Obviously, they had, for the motion capture, they find an actor to play it, and then obviously they start messing with the face. But if I'd be well up for old Bond with Pierce Brosnan, and he does the motion capture and does the voice. That would be, how amazing would that be? What a send off that would be for him as Bond.
Sorry, I was just thinking of the Irishman, and there were complaints that the de-aging, like not very nimble movements from the actor, and they were 20. Harrison Ford didn't come back for the game, did he?
No. So it's just a licensing thing. It's like, oh yes, I allow you to use my kind of image, but no, it was a separate actor did the voice and his movements. But if you're doing the old man, I think Brosnan could quite easily do it.
Not Daniel.
With regard to the titles, sorry. I was one of the uncertain bits for me is we don't know who to credit for it. There's no, it doesn't. At no point it says, main titles designed by, as it normally would. I don't know if we credit the director. At the end it says directed by Hakan Abrak. I don't know if he is, responsible for all this. Because I was thinking, hold on, whoever's doing this is perhaps throwing the name in the ring for Bond 26. Like, because there couldn't be a better way to demonstrate that you can do a Bond title sequence. But I don't know who's responsible for it. Maybe it's a collaborative thing, really, and everyone who's involved in the game. But the thing with that is it's not just animation, it's not just computer animation gameplay, it's artistic, it's art that we're looking at. So clearly there's an artist behind these titles, but as far as the titles go, we don't know who, and I'd love to know whether it's the director who's responsible or somebody else.
Bit like David Arnold throwing his name into the hat, doing the Shaken and Stirred album, isn't it? Sort of, I can do this. If you want me through the main course, I can do it.
Yeah.
Maybe highlights one of the issues that I've had with some of the recent kind of pre-titled sequences for the films is that it sort of really highlights that those were very kind of computer games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Really kind of blue screen, or green screen kind of, heavily animated using, CGI. And this sort of has been able to do that obviously really well. And that's why it reminds me so much of it. But I think,
like the octopus.
Yeah, that's like this soft, like say there's a certain image that you think that CGI does in video games. So for me, it's like, oh well, this is, obviously there's a lot more, but it's a video game, so there's only, there's only so much you can do. Which is why I'm hoping that when it comes to the Bond 26, there's less reliance on CGI and just filming in a studio and more on physical models or physical sets and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be so like a music video.
Yeah.
It should be, like a music video. Wouldn't rely on computerized effects. You'd have your lead person and you'd have characters. You'd have choreography. Yeah, and then, when you think about all the efforts that we've learned from Binder and like Alan Church, like all the effects in camera that you can do with layering and stuff like that. You're right. When it comes to Bond 26, it would be so good to see it be as much in film as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to move on to obviously in the title sequence, you get the names of people and you get the names of the cast. All of them that we see have already been released, haven't they, and publicised in terms of Q. We think it's Q, don't we? I think M is put down as the next main character.
Yes.
Priyanka Burford. And Lenny Kravitz, of course. So he's set up to be like the secondary villain, as we love talking about, isn't he? Or the first antagonist that Bond. Yeah.
It's so good though, because I was realizing, suddenly when those bits of news were revealed, Lenny James, like, whoa, that's how serious they're taking this Bond film. Whoa, they've got Lenny James in it.
Yeah.
And then like, wow, Lenny Kravitz. But now suddenly they're just reduced to being names.
Yeah.
In
Who's the next Lenny?
It's growing and growing. Yeah. It's growing so big now that those names being involved aren't the main appeal now. You know what I mean? It's the fact that it's a Bond mission and a Bond story that's becoming the appeal now. It's amazing to see those names just casually thrown in there now.
Chris, you're not gutted that... Well, no one's mentioned it. Why is Lenny Kravitz not doing the song?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it did cross my mind when it was announced, and obviously he was, when I first saw that headline that he was involved, I thought, oh right, so maybe he's going to do the title sequence, but obviously he's not. He's actually in it. I didn't think it's like, since when has he been an actor? He really is truly like what?
It's like Madonna just being in Die Another Day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think maybe it would have been really interesting to hear what he could have come up with a Bond theme. He's a bit more.
That one he did with Michael Jackson, Harry, the unreleased one.
Can't take it another day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite Bond, that.
Yeah.
Very me, Harry. The big spoiler, or big massive reveal. Title song First Light, written and composed by Lana Del Rey and David Arnold, performed by Lana Del Rey, produced by Lana Del Rey, David Arnold, and Dean Reed. And I don't know who he is, so there we go. But Chris, was it to see that on like in the films, of course? Yeah,
like I say, it just has that real official, feel. Like I say, from all those the things that you look for when you're watching the title sequence in a Bond film. It's like Ian Fleming's, and then it's like this and title and song and that's what you look for, and it does that. I'm not interested in like lead designer or like lead programmer. It's like
if you'd like to know who Dean Reed has produced for.
Oh, good, brilliant.
Tupac, the Dog Pound, Nate Dogg, Devin the Dude. So hip hop
Afro Records.
Yeah. And just checking, I think it's the same one.
Same one, yeah.
Oh, I might be wrong, actually.
I thought we had an exclusive there.
Yeah. Maybe I'll need to check on that. No, it's someone else. That's someone else. Yeah. This guy is a collaborator of Lana Del Rey.
Oh, okay. Definitely. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Okay. That would have been some coup, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
30 years on. You mentioned, Chris, the silhouettes before. I've just put that it's very sort of X-Files, Tomorrow People, I don't know, or V, or...
Is there a supernatural? Is there a, or rather, like robots, androids? Is that it made me think, or is it just that it's just a really cool visual?
Yeah, I think it isn't. It's probably like, don't trust them. But it's not. Don't trust women necessarily. But the people, they are women who appear to be the ones with those eyes. And there's a bit where Bond's walking, isn't there? And then they're sort of dancing around him.
Yeah.
And then there's a Minority Report kind of bit with like Bond's face on the screen and more dancing like that. You want to see the video version of this for this reenactment, I know. We've got the Daniel Craig eye, so the blue eye again. I can't remember, is that meant to be Bond's eye?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So we're all right with that?
Yeah. Is it like, a bunch of, like you say, that Minority Report where it's like a bunch of images come together to make his face, and then it zooms in, and then it's like the eye, and then the eye becomes sort of almost digital, and in like files or something. So it's all, like I say, it's all pretty much what you expect.
Yeah, and then
obviously without knowing what the plot is.
No. I mean, we have in the gameplay we have seen quite a bit, haven't we? I know it's a long time ago since it came out, but you mentioned the chess. There was certainly a chess game, wasn't there, being overwatched from which is very obviously from Rush with Love, but very Bond. Going around
in a nightclub as well.
Yeah, I think the nightclub, more dance, so much dance.
Yeah, strobe lights.
Yeah. But how crisp is that? Yeah. That, because there is footage, isn't there? Yeah, like you say, of Bond in a nightclub chatting to people. There's one guy I said looks a bit like Sam Rogers, but when he had long hair, and then there's one with a woman who I think is one of the actors named in the title sequence,
right,
in a red dress, which is it's so Bond introducing himself pretty cockily in the club.
The thing that this hints at that we've not talked about much is this gold mask, or this like Roman mask and that it's featured very slightly in some of the trailers, and it does feature here at the end. I don't know if that's our villain or what. It might have been, if you pre-order something, like I don't know if this is one of the things you could get as well. I don't know what the significance, and there's this real air of mystery about this mask, which is really good. A good thing that they're building up subtly without anyone really talking about it and questioning it.
It's like Greco-Roman style, and they've got like the Colosseum type thing before. But again, I don't know what this is, but I saw some posts on social media the other day like, oh, don't watch so-and-so, don't look at this. There's some article, I don't know whether it was in the Philippines, with a major plot spoiler of the game or something.
Oh, wow.
It didn't say that it was to do with it. It didn't say what it was to do with. So obviously I've not looked at anything. I didn't even know what to look for, to be honest.
In the Philippines?
Yeah, I mean, I might be wrong. I think that's what it was. So I don't know whether it was a story draft or an actual this happens in it. Of course, there's going to be interesting stuff to find out because we know that it's about Bond's backstory, don't we? But I don't know whether the mask, people might be saying, well, if the main baddie is this whoever's in the mask and there isn't any other actor named in the put two and two together, it's not M again, is it? I don't know. Or is it one of these characters? I don't think that'll be the case. And I do think there's a chance that there might be another actor that we don't know about, that they've just left the name off the title sequence, or they're uncredited, maybe.
It could be, though, like Spectre, when that whole skeleton outfit came out, you thought it was a new, or amazing villain. It was just the disguise that he wore.
Well, no, but it's now Carl Brain's go-to outfit, so don't ever have a go at that.
The gold mask thing, you're right. When you buy it, you can also buy a physical version of the mask as well. But I think my son, he's probably a bit more into these things. I think some of the thought online is that is the villain's mask. It sort of does have the sort of Janus kind of vibe. So maybe, like you say, maybe there is another cast member that potentially could be a bit of a bit of a name and who's revealed throughout, which would be really nice. That I don't think there is, but it'd be really great if suddenly like a big name was playing some sort of villain that was being
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, done it. He's done it.
Yeah.
Don't want it.
Sean Bean just as
but he can only do the northern accent now and things. So
no,
have to rule that one out. But yeah, what does Ernie think about all this?
He's absolutely like dying with excitement because obviously with the delay, I think was it March? It should have been out.
Yeah.
So every time it gets mentioned, it's like, when is it? April? No, May. When is it? Beginning of May? End of May.
End of May.
So like, yeah, really exciting because he was a big fan of obviously Uncharted, and and then a big fan of being a Bond film. It feels like this is like perfect kind of material, and I think like again, I think that also he's of that sort of ilk. Similar to me, actually, when you video games, if it's tied into an existing like particular film, it just feels so much more exciting. Like one thing I loved about the Uncharted games is that they were so cinematic. They were just felt like these are some of the best action films you've ever committed to. These stunts were amazing, and I think that actually, to be able to play them, at times it did make me think, well, if they can do that come up with such kind of interesting set pieces, why aren't we seeing that in modern day films? So I think there is that kind of at times where computer games kind of designers and writers of it can suddenly kind of do filmmakers those who like Red Dead Redemption, this huge scrolling massive story which really well written and engaging and feels like quite an original idea. So he's super excited as I am, and let's say as the clock sort of ticks down, he gets getting chomping at the bit.
But hang on, wasn't the Uncharted video games, weren't they based on that Tom Holland film with those really realistic stunts in the air?
Yeah.
Which Bond copied, of course. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is desperately exciting. We've got probably a couple of months roughly, haven't we, until the actual game comes out. There'll be probably other stuff to be revealed. I'm not sure what, because this is quite a big thing to show, isn't it? It's a bit like the Nolan films having the pre-thing in IMAX cinemas before the release, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know whether there'll be like a big sort of, what do you call it, like a premiere in London or Copenhagen or wherever.
They had one for Road to a Million, didn't they?
Oh, famously, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think there will be. I think when the game as soon as the game is about to release or has it, there will be some sort of, like, say, if they can do it for a TV series, I think I think that this game probably costs more than that TV series. So I think that they really do need to make it a hit. And that's why I think it feels exciting, is that they are going like you should do with Bond. And I feel that feels like it's a very kind of cubby broccoli thing where you go above and beyond when it comes to promoting stuff. You've got to really, there's that, say, have that confidence that people want to see it and will go and see it or will play it. And like I say, and I bet you this game will probably end up reaching, people who aren't necessarily Bond fans just because it looks so impressive. So I think then that leads them into, obviously other areas, which is what we want.
One thing I'd like to see next, perhaps, and I'm pretty confident it would be billboards now. I think there should be.
It was on Coca-Cola.
Exactly.
Coca-Cola.
Sides of buses. I think, even Road to a Million, to be fair, had, do you remember, Tom, there were bus shelters, there were, there were posters. But I do think they advertise some video games like films these days. So I think there will be some big posters going out. And like you say, that seeing it on the Coca-Cola cans or whatever, and I still need to pick up some of those. Oh, by the way, I saw a tweet, I assume it's up to date, of Lana Del Rey pictured leaving a shop and her assistant carrying a PS5.
That's so baby. That's superb. Yeah.
But there might be a bit of that as well, because to be fair, PS5, for them, this is a huge moment to sell more consoles, isn't it? So everyone should be wanting to get behind advertising this, because there's going to be a wave of people purchasing.
Well, Harry, you purchased the game on the strength of the song, didn't you? So
yeah. So I'll be doing that on my PC, and I've had a games control arrive today. Yes, I've not opened it yet, but yeah,
different
formats. I don't know how that's gonna work, or
the mouse do you not need?
it is actually a PS5 controller that works for. So I'm gonna have to do all kinds of acclimatizing and sorting things out to understand, but. Yeah, I've ordered. So the PC, it does come as a physical copy, but there's no disc inside. You just get a code. I think you just get a code that unlocks the game.
But it's nice to have something physical, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was really pleased with that. Yeah. I want to get as much physical stuff as I can.
What about the controller? Is it like those
the golden ones?
Yeah.
Get that on Vinted in a few years.
It's so expensive, isn't it? Yeah.
You can expect that on your birthday, Tom. From Vinted in about 15 years time. When it's no longer relevant.
I have no use for it. Yeah. That is exciting. What you were saying, Chris, about why not just go for it and just really put all, not just money, but the thought that's gone into it. And that's why there was that announcement, of course, about Amazon taking a bit of time, which I still say, I know some Bond fans have suddenly reversed their thinking, where they were absolutely fine for Eon to spend years and years doing nothing, and then as soon as Amazon, barely a year's gone by, like, what's going on? Where is it? And what is wrong with me? But yeah, the Cubby thing I was going to say is that he was always wanting to spend and put the money on screen, wasn't he? That was his big thing. Yeah. But of course, particularly in the 80s, MGM or whatever, they weren't giving as much money. Here, there's no such conversation, is there? There's no limit, really, is there, to the budget of any of these things now. There doesn't have to be awkward conversations. If they want it and they think it's proper, they'll just do it.
Yeah, and I know IO Interactive, Hitman is their thing, and they've made a big identity and name for themselves with that. But arguably, that's all been building towards having their own James Bond game, really, in many senses. You know, this is the absolute creme de la creme. This is the top dollar. Please. Whatever they've put into the Hitman series, they're going to be doing that and more, I would expect.
Yeah. And there's crossover, isn't there? Because you can, is it the sheep?
Yeah.
I don't understand
and stuff.
I don't understand, like, in the middle of a storyline, and then you go into a casino and see. I don't. So want someone to explain.
But for generations of younger game players and younger fans, they I think we might have talked about this before.
Yeah, we did.
I don't understand, but they live in a multiverse life, don't they? Where things can crop up, all things are possible. Whether that's necessarily what I'm into, maybe not, but it's something that appeals to younger fans.
Yeah.
If that's
they wanted a character from a different franchise which they haven't heard of in there. No.
Well, I think it is that kind of, it's a slight extension. It's like, I love Bond, but I've not had a video game yet, so I'll have this. It sort of like keeps things kind of exciting.
Yeah.
People kind of.
Well, it's like us. Well, Tom, the perfect example is us getting James Bond Action Man, isn't it?
Oh yeah. That is.
We loved Action Man. We'll get one that looks like James Bond as well. Get him involved. Yeah.
Multiverse.
Yeah.
Crucially, they kept the likeness of Action Man as they didn't have Pierce Brosnan's face, did they?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They might have had a scar, but did Action Man have a scar? I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit more flowing than the Bond. No. We hope it's a hit, man. Strap line. Yeah, we do, because there's a lot riding on it. It's almost people thinking, will the Bond thing hold it back a bit? But then surely not. Because if youngsters don't know it, but they didn't know who Hitman was, they didn't know who Drake was and all that. So I don't see why it should hold it back. And it's just called First Light, and they'll see a younger character. And if Ernie's into it, we're just I know his dad had a slight influence on him. But... Oh dear, so exciting, lads. Yeah, right. So until the next announcement, and you never know, there might be an episode of James Bond Will Return coming up before long. Let's hope there's some.
Well, it'll need to start competing, won't it, with First Light?
Yeah.
Yeah.